Shalom friends, this is Eliyahu Shear from Chesed Ve'emet, my site www.lovingkindness.co, and I'm here to tell you a wonderful story, a very special story, something we can all learn from, and shows the beauty of the area of Torah known as Sofrut. Now, I myself am a Sofer, and I've been learning for a number of years already. And of course, this video is not to tell you about my own personal story. It's about a story of somebody who has gone through a very special and unique life and has shared it with us. And this particular person is responsible for teaching me over the past couple of years. Actually, I started long before that already, let's say about a couple of years before that, and I was learning with another Sofer, and I just wasn't getting to where I needed to be, and I didn't know how to progress. And when Rabbi Khanin came into my life and I realized that this was the direction to go, my whole flow of learning Sofrut changed considerably. And since then, I've found that this is perhaps one of the most special professions that a person could be in, certainly one of the holiest professions that a person could be in. Suddenly, the whole of the world of Sofrut came alive for me, and I found myself immersed in a world of deep spirituality just from looking at the letters of the Aleph base. It's a very simple process, 27 letters in the Aleph base, and you can keep yourself learning for life. Now, what's so special about the story of Rabbi Khanin, my teacher in Sofrut, as we're going to see, is that it takes us from Russia, going back some over 30 years ago already, and we're going to see just how far Rabbi Khanin came, Dr. Khanin came from Russia into the world of Sofrut and finally found his way to Israel. He came to Israel, and here he's a teacher and a wonderful Sofer. Looking at his writing, it's the most beautiful writing that you will see. I personally would love to be able to own a pair of tefillin that's written by him, because I think that the writing that he has is just so special and so beautiful. During this video, I'm going to be showing some clips of Dr. Khanin doing some work on some of my own writing. You'll see him preparing certain things and removing letters and things like that, and you'll be able to see exactly how he works. And I'm also going to show some samples of his own writing so that you can see just how beautiful it is. I hope that the story has an effect on you and makes a difference in your life. And let me just say that if you are ever considering a profession in Yiddishkeit, something that will keep you connected to the Torah, and something that you can really have an absolute love for and keep you going for the whole of your life, connected with a holy source, Sofrut is definitely something that you should look into. And if of course you're interested in it a little bit more, please do go to my site and find out more about some of the things that I've written over there, which will give you an introduction into this world of Sofrut. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading an article that was published about Dr. Khanin quite a number of years ago. In fact, the words that I'm reading over here, when it says this happened to me over 10 years ago, 20 years ago, etc., have now been changed, of course, and I'll try to update where I can, more or less. But just remember, this is going back quite a number of years ago since it was even written. Now, the article is called "The Last Soviet Sofer," and it is entitled "The Story of Michael Khanin, written down by Eliyahu." Some of the wording in the English over here is not 100% correct, and I've changed it as I read along. I'm going to change one or two words. It's not making a drastic change to things, it just make it a bit clearer. And I hope that you'll enjoy the story. It'll keep you fixed to your computer at least for the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. It's not a very long story, but it should keep you fixed to the screen for about 10 or 15 minutes. And as I say, you'll be seeing some clips of Dr. Khanin's beautiful writing and the things that he does, and I hope that the story really inspires you. It has inspired me. For more than 20 years, I have been engaged in the oldest Jewish profession, which is called Sofer Stam, an abbreviation of Hebrew words Sefer Torah, Tefillin, and Mezuzah. And more than 16 years, I've been teaching this handicraft. I've taught more than 100 Jews. And this, of course, is going back some time. I believe that the figure is already over 300. And during the last 10 years, which would then, of course, be in the last, 20, 30 years going back, however long it was since this article was written, I've been collecting diplomas, smichot, of my disciples, which enabled them to practice this profession. I was honored to be the last one who was engaged in this profession in the former Soviet Union. During the 70 years of its existence, the Soviet Empire almost succeeded to destroy Jewish people spiritually. The Nazis annihilated Jews physically, whereas in Soviet Russia, they were deprived of soul. Their, in quotes, heads were cut off, close quotes. Both these phenomena, Nazism and Bolshevism, have striking similarities. In the Yad Vashem Museum, one can see lampshades and other things made of Torah scrolls. That was the German way to jeer at Jewish sacred objects. The same thing could be seen in the Soviet Russia as well. During my last visit to Moscow in 1990, I was presented an insole made of an old Torah scroll. My pupil Chaim Felzer found it in the Geniza of Moscow synagogue at the Arkhipov Street. I was stricken and ravished by the highest quality of the writing. Indeed, one can profane only sacred objects, but never empty things. In order to follow a halakhic law, one should bury any unfit sacred object in the grave of a Torah sage, a Talmid Chacham, in a glass or a clay vessel. Until then, it is kept in a special depository called Geniza. As I mentioned before, I was honored to be the last Sofer of the Soviet Empire. I was taught this handicraft by old men who had suffered dreadful times. Their names were Rabbi Shlomo Kremenetz and Rabbi Vel Shaknovsky. In the early 80s, one could study this profession only in the underground. Rabbis and Jewish organizations from the US, England, and Israel took care to revive this profession. Special envoys were sent from these places in order to teach a small number of people who wanted to master the profession of to be a sofer. This happened in the early 80s. In a paradoxical way, there is no institution, even in nowadays Israel, where one could systematically master this profession. At the time that Dr. Khanin is speaking about this point, that there wasn't anywhere to study in Israel, it was quite true that at that point in time, Sofrut had reached a point where there wasn't really an organized way of learning. Today, what exists is absolutely amazing. Things have changed considerably in the last 35 years, considerably to what it was in those days when there wasn't any formal way to study Sofrut under a general organized approach that was standard for everybody, and to compare and to know that a person who was registered, had been certified in a certain way, was competent in what he was doing. Those are just my own notes that I'm adding to the points that's brought in this article. Now, in short, about myself. Until the age of 30, when I graduated from the philosophical faculty of the Moscow University, I didn't know neither from which side a Jewish book should be opened, nor how the Jewish letters looked. That means that I was spiritually robbed. I belonged to the category of children held captive. I recall the unforgettable feeling I experienced in 1977 in an apartment of a woman who then was refused the right of immigration. I already knew some Hebrew and could read Hebrew texts. The hostess offered me a few old Jewish books she couldn't throw away, since she felt it would be improper. There were around 20 boxes stuffed with sacred literature. I was free to take Mishnayot, Chumashim, Mishnah Brura, all these books, which were prohibited by Soviet system. After working 12 years as a sociologist in the National Lenin Library and completing my career as a senior scientific worker, I was aware that this was like a book concentration camp, a book cemetery for spiritual culture. The impression was particularly strong, since our heads were, inverted commas, cut off by Bolsheviks, including many Jewish people among them, starting with Ossi Brick with his brilliant aphorism, "God exists, but I don't believe in him." And including, I've discovered lately that the mother of Andropov, the late KGB chef, was Jewish as well. Starting from 1976 until early 1981, While still working as a senior scientific worker in the Lenin Library, I was widely engaged in Jewish affairs. In the years 1977 to 1978, I returned to the Jewish faith, taught Hebrew from 1979, and a few years later in 1980, 1981, I have been already acquainted with the basics of Jewish education. I experienced another strong positive shock. We were presented with the slides of Jewish letters. It was the sacral alphabet, letters used for writing mezuzot, tefillin, and Torah, and by means of which, according to Jewish tradition, the world was created. These are the higher letters of spiritual worlds, basis for the whole of creation, whereas sacral earthly letters, so well known to us, are only material emanations of the higher ones. The Ten Commandments on the tablets of the law, which Moses received at Mount Sinai, were also written with the same letters. Today, 3,500 years afterwards, we write scrolls of Torah, tefillin, and mezuzot exactly with the same letters. It is no wonder, therefore, that the power of a book, of a text, and the ontological status of a word in the Jewish culture is very high. After being a refusnik for about 7 years and carrying on to teach Hebrew, I myself was taught the most old Jewish profession, partly by the old men, partly by the envoys from Jewish communities all over the world. My first smicha came from the head of the rabbinic court of Baltimore, Rabbi Moshe Heinemann. This smicha gave me the right to check and correct Jewish sacral texts. Since my work was carried out secretly in the underground, I was hardly writing any sacred texts, rather examining tefillin and mezuzot and correcting quite a number of Sifrei Torah. Therefore, already prior to my immigration to Israel, I was quite experienced in examination. In addition to this, for 3 years, I was writing gets, divorce certificates. This was the only place in the Soviet Empire where one could receive a divorce according to the Jewish law. Rabbi Israel Schwarzblatt, who before the Second World War was studying in Slobodka Yeshiva, was responsible for this process. After receiving an oral confirmation of halachic legality for these divorces issued by Rabbi Moshe Feinstein from the US, we became the only place in the USSR where divorces were carried out according to the Jewish law. For 3 years, until Rabbi Schwarzblatt passed away, we were busy with these activities. The year 1985 was the year when the collapse of the Soviet Empire began. When Gorbachev came after Chernenko, only 700 Jews left the USSR. My family was among them. On the 17th of Tammuz, 5745, 1985, we landed at Ben Gurion Airport. It would take 4 books to describe my Israeli period in detail. To make the long story short, I was lucky with my profession. I was a certified Sofer and could understand the difference between the level one could achieve in the Soviet underground and the level of Israeli professionals. In less than 2 months, I found myself at a place where the professional level in this area was the highest in Israel. A few years before, a certified Sofer from the USA, Rabbi Moshe Flumenbaum, came to Jerusalem and opened a store called HaSofer. During the first 3 years, I had practical work with the best examiners, Magias, in Israel, Rabbi Sholom Levin, Rabbi Yitzhak Rodoskovich, and many others. This is a very important component of my success. Like in a case of a physician or an advocate, a Magia who just has a certificate without practical work is not of much worth. I was lucky that during the first months of my staying in Israel, my colleagues, Rabbi Chaim Tabatsky, took me to the lessons of Rabbi Yaakov Meir Stern, who taught the laws of Sofrut, sacral writing, under the authority of the Mishmeret Stam. A few years later, he issued a book, Mishnat HaSofer, that serves nowadays as the best textbook in the field. I was happy to study with him for many years, and my knowledge is based mostly on these lessons. About a year later, I passed the test and received an Israeli smicha from Dayan Rabbi Shammai Gross. In addition, I was very grateful to my pupils, for I've understood a lot during 16 years of teaching. The majority of people who lack Jewish education don't understand the importance of texts written by a sofer. Jewish sacred objects are sacred exactly in virtue of the classical Stam script, of which there are 3 different kinds. They are written with on specially elaborated skin of kosher animals. This means that letters and names of God make sacred objects sacred. This is the reason why any mistaken letter or form writing makes the whole scroll unfit. For in that case, the connection with the higher letters of spiritual world is interrupted, and material objects become false, i.e. profane. It is possible now to answer one frequently asked question: why one shouldn't give up the old methods of manual writing of these texts on parchment with special ink and turkey pen, just because it is not merely calligraphic writing. At one time, I couldn't understand why one Sofer sells his mezuzot for less than $30, while another one for $100. I thought it depends on the writer's level, on length of his payot and frock coat. However, after taking matters seriously, I have discovered that the spiritual level of a man is reflected in his handwriting. Rabbi Eliyahu Derma taught me a lot about this. It is possible to see everything in just several lines: one's level of knowledge, his skills, and spirituality. Therefore, the most kosher mezuzah, photocopied by means of modern technology, is totally unfit, just as a synthetic apple or counterfeit money is. For an object becomes sacral only as a result of a human action, and no mechanism can replace a human being. We are talking about a certain sacral act, a deed, by means of which a man of an adequate level, status, and experience serves as a conductor of spiritual energy, which is fixed on parchment. When a battery is charged, it uses material carrier of energy. Once being charged, it can bear a certain function. Tefillin and Torah scrolls are charged in the same way. We cannot imagine in what way spiritual energies work, but their effectiveness is proved in the course of Jewish history. The commandment to adjust mezuzot to doorposts is situated among rewarding commandments that bring health and longevity for those who observe them, even in our mundane material world. Mezuzot do guard our homes. The level of their kashrus affects their positive spiritual energy, as well as the level of protection against misfortunes and troubles. Unfortunately, the situation in Israel in this sphere is deplorable. The vast majority of retailers sell non-kosher ritual artifacts, as strange as it might seem. I remember that a few years ago, one could buy a box containing photocopied mezuzah paper in the airport. The vast majority of those who write and sell mezuzot don't have any right, smicha, to do this. Even in Jerusalem, the world's capital, there are numerous places where it is possible to buy kosher mezuzot, tefillin, megillot, and Torah scrolls without any fear of being swindled, and with an absolute guarantee on the level of their kashrut. I'm quite an expert in the sphere, and I was lucky to find myself immediately after my immigration in a place which nowadays is not only the best one in Israel, but in my humble opinion in the whole world. Sofer store, situated at the Strauss Street, employs only those Sofers who have adequate experience and certification. In addition, certified and experienced examiners inspect all these objects, which is no less important. All dubious questions are settled up by rabbis who have adequate training and competence. Rabbi Shammai Gross, Rabbi Mordechai Friedlander, who visit our store several times a week. There is a triple quality control in the store, performed by Badatz Eidach Haredis, Badatz Chasidei Bells, and Mishmeret Stam. A slightly higher level of prices as compared to other places where one can buy kosher tefillin and mezuzot is balanced, without any doubt, by a guarantee of quality. Another circumstance that ensures the store's international level is an extensive use of computer technologies, including internet, which have been approved by rabbis. You can make an order regardless of the place of residence and receive it within a reasonable period of time. Here is where the article ends, and I just found it so beautiful I wanted to share it with you. Here is a story of somebody, a Jew in Russia, that by the age of 30, he knew nothing of the Hebrew alphabet, and today is an expert in the laws of Sofrut in every single area, including the writings and the different styles of writings, including the checking and the sewing up of the parchments, including writing all the different types of documents, the ritual documents that are necessary in Jewish law. Here is a person who came from nothing in terms of his Torah knowledge, and somebody today who is really an absolute authority. This is the person who teaches me, and I'm most grateful for everything that I've learnt. And it's a great lesson to know that if one is going to this profession, that one should do everything that one can to select only the best of teachers. And when one does so, one begins to realize that learning something like Sofrut is not just a 3-month course, and it's not just a year course, but it's a course that can go on for years and years until a person becomes truly proficient in every single part of the Sofrut that is necessary. What many people don't realize is that it takes hours to write the documents that we put on our doors or doorposts, the mezuzot, the tefillin that we wear, and all the other different documents and writings that are written down by a Sofer take hours upon hours to prepare. We don't value it. We also don't value the cost involved in both studying the Sofrut and in engaging in it and purchasing all the things that are necessary, whether it be a table, whether it be the cloth, whether it be the ink, or whatever is necessary for doing one's writing or to improve the quality of one's writing. There are so many things that need to be purchased along the journey. So this is the story, and I've included a number of beautiful clips that I hope that you've enjoyed. And it's really just a special story that I wanted to share with you. This is Dr. Khanin from Russia, now living in Yerushalayim, writing the most beautiful of parchments. And may this all be as a chutz for us and an awakening for us that we should all go out further and do the best that we can to purchase only reliable tefillin and mezuzot and all the different things that we do. And of course to know that no matter what age that we're at, we can always continue and start and continue and improve in our learning and be more successful in everything that we do. So I'm Eliyahu Shear from Chesed Ve'emet, www.lovingkindness.co. Please be in touch with me if there's anything of interest in terms of studying Torah in general, or whether you're interested more in finding out more about the world of Sofrut. I would be happy to share more about it with you. And of course, if you have enjoyed this video, I ask you please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and put a positive comment down below so that other people can see that you've gained from it, and of course it will attract further attention. So looking forward to seeing you again soon in another video. Take care, everything of the best. Shalom, shalom.
23 ובדף מ"ד במשנה ברורה אנחנו קוראים את המחבר. כותב השולחן ערוך: אם לאחר שנכתב ניקב בתוך ההי או המם כאשר אפילו ניקב כל תוכו שהנקב ממלא כל החלל, זאת אומרת כל חלל האות, אנחנו מיד נדבר על הדברים האלו, הוא ממש נקב, אין קלף, אין גליל בפנים. אנחנו צריכים להבין את הפשט. רגע, עד סוף המשפט אני אקרא כולל הרמו, ואז אתה תרשום את השאלות שלך ותשאל. אחרת אני לא אגמור, אני רוצה להסביר אחד אחד. אוקיי, כל חלל. אבל בירושלמי משמע שגם בפנים צריך שיהיה מוקף קלף. אגב, דבר מאוד מעניין. טוב, יש פה איזה גרסה, אולי באיזשהו מקום גם כתוב מוקף גליל, אבל יפה מאוד. לא חשוב, אני סתם, זה בתור קוריוז, אני מזכיר את זה בגלל שבדרך כלל אנחנו לא נמצא בשום מקום מוקף קלף, אלא מדובר על מוקף קליל, מוקף דצוסטוס, יש לנו מונח, טרמינולוגיה, המונחים הם מאוד מדויקים, בדרך כלל משתמשים במוקף גליל. אוקיי, כי רוב הדברים שסתם כתבו על הגלילים. עכשיו הוא אומר, הלאה, ניקב רגל הפנימי של ההי, מדובר על רגל שמאל וזה ברור, אפילו לא נשאר ממנו אלא כל שהוא כשר להרוש. נגמר השולחן ערוך. הסעיף בזה נגמר. אני מיד אשאל כמה שאלות בהבנת המקרא, בהבנת הפשט, ואז אני קודם אשמע את השאלות שלכם, אבל מאוד מעניין כי ביקשתי קצת לקרוא את זה להכין. יופי. מוסיף הרמון. אבל שאר הפוסקים, הכוונה לראשונים גם ובוודאי לרוב של האחרונים, כולל המשנה ברורה, מצריכים כמלוא אות קטנה, והכי היא אותה. בסוגריים כתוב בית יוסף. בית יוסף, כמובן, הוא מביא את ספר התרומה וכן הלאה. זהו, עכשיו תשאל את השאלות שלך, כי אני לא בטוח שאתם מבינים פה לא רק של 100%, אלא אולי גם 90 לא מבינים מה שכתוב פה. מה השאלה? מאיר.